pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please make sure that your cell phones are either turned off or on silent. Mr. Van Orman?
Wonderful. Our first order of business tonight, I'm pleased to announce that we have an August graduate. It's not something that we have very frequently, so I'm very proud and pleased tonight to ask everyone to join me in congratulating Evan Michael Finnerty on meeting our graduation requirements. Evan, please shake Miss Madigan's hand. Nope, stay, and now you gotta stay and pause so Mr. Welcher can get a picture with you. Here's just some other documents that would go with your graduation.
Congratulations,
Excellent way to start.
Absolutely.
Next up, I'd invite Mrs. Deviney. Mrs. Deviney up to the podium to do her fall presentation on our academic progress. Everyone should have in front of them a copy of a data report that will go alongside of her presentation.
So Mr. Van Orman said shoot for about an hour and a half. So I've curated just enough data to keep you attentive for an hour and a half. Aiden, did you get through all of it? Studied, ready to go? So you all have a copy tonight of two different data reports. So the first one in your bound notebook there is the end of last school year's data. And then after the red sheet in the middle, you have the start of this school year's data. So you'll notice when you're looking at this school year's data that those cohorts have been advanced to the next grade. You'll also see that there are some missing growth goals in there as our teachers just started working on those on Friday. So now that our teachers have been through the end of the year data, that will all be up on our website before the end of the week. So you'll also notice that this looks familiar in format to what we've had for the last few years. I'll walk you through what's in there, and then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about what comes next, what we're doing with all of this host of information that you have. So just as a reminder for you all, when I started in this position, one of my goals was to really focus on building that data-driven culture, making sure that every teacher in every classroom is looking at some sort of academic data, tracking student progress, looking for growth, making sure that what we're doing is having the intended impact on our students, and when it's not, making the necessary adjustments based on that. So this is just a continuation of that work. So what you have in here, again, just like the last few years, this is the exact same format, is that cohort data. So you'll see an overview sheet of every cohort of students, every grade level of students. You'll see Regents data and 3 through 8 testing tracked over time. And then you'll also see that grade level performance over time, as well as teachers' growth goals included in there as well. So most of this data you've already seen through my board updates over the last few months, but hopefully tonight is a chance for us to recognize some of the growth that we've seen publicly for our teachers to receive that recognition too. So just as a review of what you see in there, so this is a screenshot of the end of year report, so 5th grade. So this is the cohort now that is in 6th grade. So at the end of the year, it tells you how many students were in each section, who the teachers were at that grade level. These were each of the goals that the team was working on throughout the year last year, and then the demographic overview for that group of students where they came in with attendance and other counts throughout the year. The bottom half of that is their performance data. So BOY is the abbreviation for beginning of year, MOY middle of year, EOY end of year. So where you're seeing those percentages, BOY, arrow, EOY, you can see that we started at 1% and at the end of the year, that was the result. So we're looking for, in the color coding here, greens are on grade level, blues are above grade level. So we're looking for the reds and yellows to decrease. We want fewer students showing us below grade level, and then we're looking for the red, or for the greens and blues to increase. So you can see some decent movement across the board, and again, you have the full packet to dive in and look at any grade level that you would like to dive into. But some significant growth here. So we've got our local assessments. So our DIBELS is our internal test that we're doing with our classroom teachers and our reading teachers, tracking students' progress with their reading skills, and then that into the state testing scores. So you can see for this cohort where they've tracked over time, we've seen a really nice improvement this year for this cohort in both math and ELA, moving back up toward where they were as a third grade cohort. So that really speaks to the work of those teachers, making sure that they are looking at end of unit assessments, adjusting, reteaching skills to help their students move forward. Friday, when teachers looked at their growth goals from last year, the fifth grade team said, well, I'd really like to focus on the same goal this year as I did last year because it clearly worked. What we did, the extra practice I put in, made a difference. I see this new cohort coming in is weak in the same standards, the same skills, so I want to focus on that same piece again. So for me, coming in and wanting to focus on that data growth and the data-driven culture, that's exciting to hear when a teacher says, oh, what I did worked, it made an impact, let me do more of that same thing. So you can see the same for both ELA and math, and then the My Sabers screener we're giving to all of our students in K through 12. So this is a social emotional screener, so it might flag for students who are showing warning signs for anxiety or other negative behaviors. Our counseling teams and our MTSS teams review that each time that it's given throughout the year to place students in additional social skills groups or counseling interventions based on that data. So every piece of this data informs some placement for a student, whether it is in an AIS class, in an accelerated class, in a social skills group, in a lunch bunch. Every piece is used in some way, shape, or form by our teachers. Any questions on what you see on those pages?
Question. So how do you look at no movement? So if you see something, say, stagnant for whatever reason, how does that, do we change the goal? Do we continue the same goal?
So that would depend on what the measure is that's not showing movement. I would also say I would want to look at the cohort and see, is this a trajectory of the cohort that they're not moving? Is it a new teacher? So we would go back to this image of, we're looking at all of the different data sets to try to determine why there isn't that movement. So is it a curriculum thing? Is it an instruction thing? Is it a cohort thing? Is it a student needing an intervention thing? So where each of these pieces of data are being analyzed, we're trying to cross-reference that to determine what is it that's causing a negative movement, what's causing a positive movement, what's causing no movement at all, and then making the adjustments based on that.
Okay, I was just wondering, the comment you made about the fifth grade that, hey, this worked, let's try it again. I just wondered, not being as familiar with it, is that sometimes it's just, it takes more than 1 year, you know, and does that goal turn over into the sixth grade team who then tries to, you know, lay that same foundation, and do we see more growth, but it's just more than 12 months?
So I think you're referencing some of what Mrs. Kaiser has said repeatedly with new curriculum. It's a slow process, seeing that movement. Sometimes you get those bubbles where, ooh, we saw a really significant improvement really quickly. Let's talk more about what happened with that. Were you spiraling in a review? Were you holding after school groups? What was the magic little piece that you added in? So this year our teams are working in PLC, so I'm jumping ahead to the end of the presentation. So they're doing more vertical alignment in that, where last year their lead teachers were by grade level. So fifth grade team was meeting together. This year they're in banded cohorts, so they can start to have more of those vertically aligned conversations. So 4th grade, where did you leave off? What were the strengths? What worked for this cohort? Picking those up in 5th and then beyond from there. Thank you. Other questions on what you see? Who's putting themselves to sleep tonight reading all these numbers? All right, so again, just that review, we're looking at all of the pieces. So trying to assess what's working with our new curriculum, what's not working with that, what's working with instruction, what's not working with that, what's working with our master schedule, and trying to determine where that center data point is to make sure that our decisions and what we're implementing and working on are based on every piece of available evidence to us. Beyond this, there are data reports of standard by standard, so teachers can see how our students performed on each individual standard compared to other students in the state or across the region. They also can pull an individual student's standard report. So if we're saying, all right, Matt Van Orman was a mid-2, we want to get him to a 3, we can pull the report on Matt and say exactly how he did with each standard. How did he answer on each question? Were there any trends in that? Did every student in the grade level get question 3 wrong? That's an us problem versus a student problem. Is he the only student that got question 3 wrong? Was it the wording of the question? So we're looking again at all of those different data sets to inform what we're doing in every classroom. So a few call outs, again, you all saw this in an update already, and if you were here on opening day, just a few celebrations to throw out there. First and foremost, for Regents exams, we exceeded the county average in all of our exams. We acknowledge that we still have a lot of work to do, but these are really good signs for us that make us really excited that we're seeing that growth. Algebra 2 continues to have our highest pass rate and mastery rate. So even within the scores or the tests that are being recognized here, those teachers are still going back and setting their growth goals for this year, saying, I want to go higher than that. How do I get higher than that? We might have a math teacher or 2 around this place who are really, really competitive and don't like to not be number 1 in the region. So they're constantly tweaking to make sure that they are top notch, the top earner in terms of scores. So at 3 through 8, again, you have already seen these, but some significant growth among some of our grade level cohorts. So we're hoping that they continue with that work. And as we've talked about with our teachers, John Hattie's visible learning work, one of the greatest impacts on student learning is teacher efficacy. So the belief that what I'm doing makes a difference. That fuels us on when we know that our hard work is paying off. So our students who graduated this past year, we'll add one more to that after tonight. So we saw students earning their CDOS credentials, so that's a career and occupational studies piece along with their diploma. More students earning that seal of biliteracy. A new cohort this year earning the seal of civic readiness, and we're looking for ways to continue to grow each of these each year. But it surprises me as we're a few years into the seals that there are districts that haven't even begun that work yet. I received an email last week from someone saying, hey, send me the information on that. What does that look like? So kudos to our staff and our students for working toward those extra seals on their diplomas. And then of course, Regents with advanced designation. And as we talked about on the first day of school, last year's graduation rate was just shy of 92%, which going back in our state report cards and our reporting system is the highest that it has been since 2001. So again, that is a huge testament to our staff and our leadership, all working together to make sure that we get every single student that we can across that stage or here in front of you all to recognize the completion of their graduation requirements. So hopefully onward and upward, and things continue in a positive trend with that. I'm pretty sure that Mr. Gaffney is really focused on getting every single student to that stage. So it's a nice addition to have. No pressure, Mr. Gaffney. So a few things for you to consider as you're looking at the data. I'm sure for many of you as parents, you are well aware of this. This past year, we administered new Regents exams in geometry, biology, and earth and space sciences. This coming year, we'll see, so this June, we'll see the new Regents exams in Algebra 2, Chemistry, Physics, and ELA at the 11th grade level as well. So we'll continue as we move forward to keep tracking in this exact same way of cohort data, standard data, looking at those comparisons, trying to see exactly where we need to tweak and adjust. We'll continue to focus in on our subgroup performance. So in the spring, when we did improvement planning, that was a huge focus of each of those work groups, was diving into why a certain subgroup might be outperforming or underperforming with their peers. So we're putting a few pieces in place, as you've seen with the improvement plan as well, to start to address those pieces and ensure that all of our students are reaching those equitable outcomes. As I mentioned, the PLCs, those will be focused in on literacy in the content areas. So for anyone whose child had to take those new science exams last year, the earth science test was 55 pages long. They are very heavy reading tests. So our science department has said, you know, we have to go back and build some literacy strategies into what we're teaching every day, because it's very much a reading test now. So we're working to support that. We'll continue focusing on this concept of a guaranteed and viable curriculum. So what's taught in this third grade classroom is the same as what's taught in the next third grade classroom. The students who come next year are getting that same experience in their classroom. And that as a foundational piece to preparing us for the work that is tied with the New York Inspires movement and that portrait of a graduate. So just as a quick review for you, because this is where we're starting to focus now, over the next few years, this is the timeline of that portrait of a graduate New York Inspires work. So the state has adopted their revised portrait of a graduate. We expect before the summer of 2027 that they will release rubrics upon which we are to grade every student as a critical thinker. So there should be a rubric and we should be scoring them, each graduate as a critical thinker, each graduate as an academically prepared student, each graduate as a global citizen. No one has seen an example of exactly what those will look like, but that's coming our way. The state has also promised that they will be publishing prioritized standards. So if the high school English standard document is 75 pages, they're going to pare that down perhaps to 50, and they'll reformat those, and then following that, they'll start to roll out some new assessments a few years after that. Beginning in next school year, 26-27, we will be required to provide instruction in financial literacy and climate education. That bullet is exactly what we know about what that's supposed to entail. And then the state will also start to adjust their credit requirements. So we don't know what that will look like. They've been very vague. We assume that they'll still require 22 credits for graduation, but they may shift in terms of you no longer have to have 4 credits of English and 4 of social studies. You may just have to have 22 as a total. So lots to come over the next 2 years in terms of the day in and day out teaching. And then beyond that, the state is promising that we're moving to 1 diploma. So those seals of biliteracy and the seal of civic readiness will still exist. The traditional Regents with Advanced designation will come as a seal. So everyone will earn the same diploma, and you may have additional seals or credentials associated with that. This is also the time where those diploma assessment requirements, aka Regents exams, will be sunsetted. So Regents exams will still exist. However, they will be one option or one pathway by which students can demonstrate their knowledge of content. So as we look at our data, we're going to start not being able to compare apples to apples with that. And for probably all of us, we only know a world of public education in New York State that's tied to those Regents exams. So as we look to project-based learning and portfolios that are coming our way, our focus right now around building that foundation and infrastructure with our staff is really the first step to getting us to this place in what is a very short period of time in education. So after we're in full implementation of the New York Inspires work, the final steps will be rolling out a new statewide transcript where we are told those scores for each student on each of the areas of the portrait of a graduate. Those scores will be included in a student's transcript that they're using to apply to college. And then there will be new assessments starting at that time. So where we just talked about Algebra 2 and chemistry and physics and ELA getting new Regents exams this year. Potentially in 4 years, they're going to get new Regents exams again in some way, shape, or form. So lots of work ahead for our staff and our teachers, which is why it's so critical for us to be really focused on this data-driven culture, making sure that we're used to that cycle of continuous improvement, that we know something new is going to come at us, likely next year, if not next month. So how do we continue to read the data that we have and make those necessary adjustments as we go along? Questions based on any of that?
Can I go back to your younger presentation? So I know you said that the fifth grade team meets and fourth grade team meets, but in the elementary school and middle school, they start changing classes. So do you have the teachers who are teaching math meet as a team too, or do they just meet as grade level teams?
So a combination of both. So at the middle school, they have daily team time. So the 7th grade and 8th grade teams meet together. The 6th grade team meets together. So they're doing more of that, similar to what the elementary does in terms of team planning and collaboration. At the high school, they meet as departments. So they'll still have their, we're just social studies time. They will meet this year in their PLCs. So those are humanities based, so social studies and English together, and STEM based. So then they have their cross-curricular and vertically aligned time there as well. And then in addition to that, if you think back to presentations that Haley Bybee has done, the MTSS teams are also meeting, looking at individual students or groups of students, using the data and making necessary adjustments there too.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. This week is also important because it is known as Board Appreciation Week, or Board of Education Appreciation Week.
Write
So
that down. That's really important.
Marley's face is like.
Yeah.
in the spirit of Board Appreciation Week, in front of each of you as board members, we have a rose flower that was made by Mr. Hawkins' high school medals class. So students in our medals classes, it's an 18-step process to make those flowers, and he was very pleased to present those to you all from our students. And I would just like to say that I'm proud to recognize the dedicated individuals who serve on our Board of Education, who serve our community with care, commitment, and vision. You folks, as Board of Education members, volunteer countless hours to ensure every decision supports student success, strengthen our schools, and reflects our community values. On behalf of our district, I extend my sincere gratitude to each member of our Board of Education for your service, advocacy, and unwavering belief in the power of our school system. So, thank you all.
Thank you. If you could do us a favor and thank Mr. Hawkins as well, because I didn't make anything this nice in tech class when I went here, so we really appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you.
I had to. Even look at, good time to be on the board.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much. Did you want to continue with the MVPs?
Absolutely. So, in the spirit of recognition tonight, we were able to, again, continue with our MVP program that we successfully implemented last year. This is our first month of handing out MVP awards. With September, it's kind of quick turnaround with our board time. So you see, we have a list of 27. I don't know if they pop up on there. They do not. We have a list of 27 unique individuals that received recognition, but we actually had 39 entries. So quite a few people received additional or more than one. And I thought of particular note this particular time around, we had 12 nominations from students.
Great.
Which actually outpaced all of last year combined. So kudos to our students for kind of starting the school year off and recognizing some of the hard work of our staff. I'll read a couple. I know the names are not up there. I'll read a few here that I had prepared. Cindy Stone. Cindy takes care of the people who work here and the students here at Red Creek. She always helps out when it's needed and is always supportive whenever it is needed. I think we all have probably had a positive interaction, of course, with Cindy. Nanette Van Horn in our elementary school. Nanette works hard every day to support her kids and give them what they need to learn and grow, which I thought was super appropriate for somebody in our elementary building. One of our longstanding members of our custodial staff, Jen Fillingham. Jen is always there and ready to help when needed. And an additional staff member from our elementary building, Chantel Lynn. Chantel does her job with care and resilience. I admire her professionalism and grace. I just thought that was, super poignant. So just a couple takeaways on those.
We should start putting those at the end. That's a nice way to.
I can do more at the end. We can intersperse them wherever.
Very nice, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the regular meeting. Could I have a motion for Mrs. Decker? Could you tell me what for?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
Let's start with C1 and D1 through 5.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a second, please? Mrs. Kaiser? Any questions on this group? If you don't mind, we'll do a voice vote for all of that when you're ready.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowles?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser?
Yes.
And Mrs. Madigan?
Yes, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. I would take a motion for some, Mrs. Allen.
E1 through 6.
Motion for E1 through 6 and a second by Mrs. Folds. Questions on this group? When you're ready.
Mrs. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowles?
Yes.
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
And Mrs. Madigan?
Yes, thank you. Okay, F, new business. I have a motion for some,
I'll motion F2 through 6.
Mrs. Decker, could I make the suggestion that you could pull out one of F1 if you'd like?
I could, but I would be pulling out 6110.
Okay, so could I take that motion as F1 through 6? Hold on, I lied,
Minus
yes.
6110.
Minus policy 6110, we'll discuss that individually. Could I have a second for that, please? Mr. Joyce, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Van Orman's head was blocking your hands. Questions on all of F1 through 6 with the exception of policy 6110? Mrs. Allen, are you okay for, when you're ready?
Mrs. Decker?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowles?
Yes.
And Mrs. Madigan?
Yes, thank you. Could I have a motion, please? Mrs. Kaiser?
You say F1,
One.
6110?
Please, in a second. Mrs. Folds? Okay. Anybody wanna start? Okay, I'll start. Alright, so 6110, I think that, there was some conversation about this at the last meeting and, from what I had for notes, there was a question about subsection A and, some clarification on the language that pertains to that part. I think that there was a conversation also of whether it should be removed or not. I don't think that we settled on that, and so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. But this is a second reading, so we have the opportunity to make changes if necessary and adopt as is or with changes. So I would be interested in any discussion anyone has.
Just to kind of like brush off the cobwebs, I think when we talked about it before, the questions with A, where it was subjective, we didn't know who was deciding, who breached public trust.
That's accurate.
What, like, who would determine it, how many people would determine it. So I personally feel like we should just take it out. I know legal said that it could stay or it could go. I feel like it should go.
Yeah, I'm in line with that as well. I mean, I don't have a problem with pretty much anything else in there, just that subsection A is just too vague. I would vote to remove it.
You're talking about removing the one that just says
Breaches of
breaches
public trust or confidence.
confidence?
Correct.
Other comments? I believe that Mrs. Kaiser has a note from Mrs. Dingman, that she asked to be read, as she's not here tonight.
So she emailed us and said to please read on her behalf. Mrs. Dingman says, I find it difficult to comprehend when a board member has an issue with a code of ethics section of a policy. It leads me to believe that their personal interests or behavior may not fully align with the ethical guidelines and that they may be reluctant to be held accountable to those standards. I believe we should be supporting the superintendent and the Board of Ed appointed attorney in this endeavor, as they are responsible for addressing situations when an employee makes a poor choice. She also asked if we debate this, that she respectfully asks for the debate to be postponed until November.
Thank you.
So I think our concern with A last meeting was if we leave that in, what that meant for the staff, and the task was to go back and look into that, right? Is that, the consensus was that we were gonna go back and look into that, or that?
No, I didn't have that. I had only just to consider the language. Clarifying language on A, or if it could be changed to be more specific. And if that's the case and I have the wrong notes, then I don't know what that direction would have been or who it was for. So you'd have to, if you could maybe give me some more.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it doesn't just have to be from you.
Right.
I just don't have that in my notes.
I agreed last time about I think that that's really ambiguous. I would be in line with removing that, just that one A section. Sorry, I know that doesn't answer your direct question, but I'm just adding in that. From what I remembered, I think we were saying like either specify the language or remove.
and it wasn't like council to specify that, it was
There-
either leave it or leave it as is or remove it.
Correct, there was no alternative language proposed by council. It was leave it or remove it.
So is that what we're voting on then?
Well, was just gonna wait and see if Mrs. Kaiser or Mrs. Allen had anything else to say, before we moved on. No, right now, the motion on the floor is to vote on the policy as is. So we would need to change that motion, or if we are going to table that, I would need a new motion to table the discussion.
So we're basically just wanting to take out breaches public trust or confidence, and the attorney said it, we could or not, it didn't matter.
Correct, there's no legal requirement to have that in there.
Mrs. Allen, did you have anything to share?
I just still, I guess, stand behind where I was last time as far as I don't think it's necessary. I don't know. Again, I guess I'm not clear as to whether or not this is an actual vote at this point, or you're just trying to get an idea of what direction we should go based on what.
No, it's a motion on the floor, so we'll vote, again, either vote as it stands right now, as the policy will stand as it's in your paperwork. If there's a new motion to make an amendment or a change, from what I hear, potentially to move subsection A, that'll be a new motion.
Yep.
And we'll vote on that, or Mrs. Dingman is asking for to table to November, and that would also need a new motion. So I'm just asking if you wanted to share anything more as far as, conversation or, opinion before we either vote, make a change to the motion, or,
No, I think I still feel the same way I did last meeting, thank you.
Okay.
In your feeling, you wanna take it out?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but I appreciate that we looked into it to see what, what we needed to do, or not needed to do for that matter.
So it sounds like just through discussion that 4 would want to remove?
I think
So-
the majority right now would make a change.
So if that's the case, then if the majority wants to take it out, then I just change the motion to,
I would probably just, who made the motion, Mrs. Decker?
Kaiser.
Mrs. Kaiser.
Oh, then yes, it would be you.
so
Would you amend your motion?
I'm gonna amend my motion. I'm gonna
can
amend
amend
the
that too.
motion of F1 6110, right?
Removal,
With the removal of A,
subsection A.
subsection A. Wow, I feel so fancy.
Second on that was Mrs. Foltz. Would you accept that?
Yes, yep.
Any other discussion? When you're ready.
Mrs. Foltz,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Kaiser,
Yes.
Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
Mrs. Decker,
Yes.
Mrs. Madigan.
Yes, thank you. Okay, administrative reports. If anyone missed it before, if there aren't any questions, Mr. Nash's got shoved somewhere in the middle. If you didn't have a chance to look at it, if you could glance at it quick, and he has an assignment. So everyone who wants to be part of the board, keep that in mind, it's extra homework. He's asking for just a quick roll call here as far as either A or B, what you think would be a better research subject for him in his cohort of the very exciting part of being on the Board of Education. So, Mrs. Foltz, we'll start with you if you don't mind.
I feel like A gives you a little bit more flexibility. So my thought is to go there, but I also just wanted to say that I think B, with the specificity behind it, could give you a little bit more.
So it's just one vote. So
So both
if you want to pick like A or B,
I need to talk as I'm thinking.
C, all of the above.
I'm gonna say B.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Decker.
I think I'm gonna go with A.
Mr. Joyce.
I'm going with A.
Mrs. Kaiser.
B.
Mrs. Allen.
A, but with a sprinkle of B. It can somehow merge it.
You don't get to pick both.
I feel like we can make it work to pick both.
Can you shut the camera off? I'm gonna pick B. You pretty much probably could pick whatever you want, Mr. Nash, but,
3-3.
to t-
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm the tiebreaker, so it's B. So that's happened to me twice in all the years I've been on the board. Mr. Nash, let us be clear that it is always, a great thing for this board to hear student feedback. So, we appreciate anything that you can give. Very impressed with your report. Thank you for the, taking the time to give us hopefully what the student population is talking about, or how great, they're hoping Mr. Clement will change it to 5 board meetings that you have to come to.
I think they're hoping, Leah's gonna go back tomorrow and say, can we only go to 1?
All right. Any other questions on administrative reports? All right, Mr. Van Orman, if you want to talk about enrollment.
Yes, superintendent's update. Just briefly before we get into what you have in front of you, I just wanted to take a moment with our capital project. The next big step that we have going forward in our capital project involves our pool at the community center, of course, which is, that work is slated to begin, I'll say in early November. Mr. Welcher will be working to communicate exactly what that impact is and when that impact will begin to take place with our community center members, and we'll have that information also posted on our website and on our social media accounts. But for intensive purposes, the pool hot tub steam room area will be shut down for several months, basically November until April, give or take, is a rough time frame for that work. So there will be an impact to our community center pool area upcoming in a few weeks. So I just I thought it was important to say that on camera out at a board meeting, just to continue to get that information out there.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we have absence, attendance, and enrollment data. If you looked at some of our administrative reports, I know the building principals and our MTSS teams are really trying to dive in this year to our attendance rates and highlighting students that might be considered chronically absent, more than 10% or higher. And it's much easier to catch those conversations in September and October than it is in April, when students are often so far behind that it's very challenging for them to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the sooner we can catch those and have those conversations, put some supports in place, the better. Of course, our attendance rates historically have been relatively solid, but always room for improvement on those. Again, we added in enrollment data last year, and I thought at that time the conversation was to really inform information around exactly what our enrollment numbers looked like, so that when we get into budget conversations much later in the school year, we've had some long-standing information around that. So obviously, if you look at the numbers, last year at this time, 794. This year, 746. We're down, I'll say 50, in the ballpark of 50. If we compare to June of 25, it was 769. So we're down about 25 students from June. But as I put in my transmittal, out of those 25, 17 of that number can be attributed to the graduating class compared to the incoming UPK class. It's a net loss of 17. And we've, so in analysis of these numbers, the other thing that we looked at with Ms. Ventura's office is, what do our homeschool numbers look like? Like, are we losing students to homeschooling, or is it people moving out of the district, or, what have you? So last year at this time, our homeschool numbers were 65 students. This year they're at 70. So up a tick on those. But if you look at 17 and 5, I'll call that just about a wash compared to where we were in June. So not up. Certainly down from where we were last year at this point. And I got to tell you, I was really shocked by these numbers, because I really felt like in August I spent a lot of time signing new registration paperwork. So when I first ran these numbers, I thought there was an error. I thought there was no way we would be down, and certainly down at that number based on the amount of. I sign every enrollment paperwork when somebody comes in, but I don't sign those when somebody leaves to go to another district. So on the leaving end, we don't necessarily get the same level of oversight on. So. So those are the numbers. Secondly, wanted to bring information around on our high school counselor has presented me with a proposal to bring a therapy dog to school. It's a lab retriever mix. It's a lab retriever mix. We have a board policy regarding therapy dogs. Therapy dogs need to go through an accredited therapy dog program. Boomer has gone through the accredited therapy dog program and has met all the other criteria.
Why is that so funny to you? I just had like a moment at a soccer game where they start spelling out boomer like they do mules or something. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So there's some insurance requirements and notification requirements along with the training, and then some day-to-day operational things associated with that. Right now, the plan is that tomorrow Our PR department, as part of our board policy, will be sending out notification to our district that there will be a therapy dog on grounds. So it's really a notification piece, just because there's an animal on school grounds and things like that.
Can we meet Boomer?
How about
in
can I
November?
motion that comes down to the board meetings?
Yeah, I know.
Bring Boomer to the board meetings.
Use our
So,
own therapy.
yes, so we're
Great.
very excited to welcome Boomer aboard. It's been a long time since we've had a therapy dog in our building, so
Need to
Mrs.
work that
Verts
into
and Riley was our last therapy
Yeah.
dog many years ago, so.
That's great.
We're also allowed a therapy horse too, right?
Miniature horse,
Miniature.
Miniature
That's
horse,
the other
yes.
Thing our policy allows.
that's correct.
Sounds like a different discussion. Thank you, Mr. Van Orman. Okay, so we'll move on to other business. So the handbook draft and the onboarding resource. So just so that we're clear, I know this is kind of a new thing, so we've been talking about it in a lot of different ways. These are just open items. We can talk about them at any time. I'm gonna continue to put them on the agenda. They're gonna be living documents. Mrs. Foltz and I check it regularly for comments, questions. Mr. Van Orman just had some things that he wanted to add in as far as, I think you had some points on the history of the district and some other things from the superintendent's office. We'll add those in. So I would just say as a friendly reminder, go out there and look at them when you have time if you wanna make changes. There's gonna be, I know there were some grammatical corrections, and some inputting that Amanda was working on, so she'll continue to do that as well. So, or if you don't wanna put your comments in there, reach out to myself or Mrs. Folds. We're happy to help update that. And then hopefully it will be to the point of print in the spring prior to potentially having new board members after a vote. Questions?
Yeah, I thought we had like a 2-week window to get everything, all of our comments submitted, so that we can start to finalize everything. So no, this is just as we see things, as we want to go in there and look, then add everything, cause we started to go through it, or, we had I think September 30th was the due date, so
Yeah,
that's as
so,
far as we got.
so I think, maybe I didn't communicate this, but most of the comments were grammatical that were in there. There were a few content ones that I had passed along to Amanda to try
Okay,
to.
to insert those
Yep,
documents?
Yep,
Okay.
and so, if it's something got missed, let us know, you know what I
Okay.
mean, and we'll make the changes again, but then, the idea of updating the history information or things from the superintendent's office, if we might wanna change, information around, Board of Education member that's a student rep, we can continue to do that. And then I'm not even saying once it goes to print or gets to be part of your packet in the spring that we still can't continue to do that, depending on, maybe Mr. Joyce comes up with a fantastic idea that the therapy dog is here every Christmas meeting and that's what we do. And we can add that in, but, I had even, after we had gone through this, past the deadline, I'm like, geez, maybe we should put in some sort of, professional development calendar for the board. That's not actually really in there. So I think that that's probably the best way to handle it for now because, as Mrs. Folds and I were working through the comments, we thought, geez, this could actually just spark more. So we're gonna talk about it and print it and then go back and make more changes. So, it's gonna be left open there, until we decide not to. So, please feel free to send.
What about the non-grammatical stuff, the stuff that we need to talk about?
So-
So one of us makes a suggestion, but then it just kind of sits until we talk as a whole, or what's the plan for that?
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
Not without going through, sorry.
Like one of your, I don't wanna say your comments, but one of your comments was that the suggestion or the question should be to change, the word Kyler to elementary. Okay,
Yeah, no, not anything that significant.
well,
I
that's
think-
what I was, like that, even though it's not a capitalized B,
Yeah,
I would still say that change could be made without,
discussion.
right,
Or I think one of them was the roles and responsibilities of the president, the vice president, so does that just sit until we discuss, or?
so I would say yes, part of it too is that there weren't, I don't know if everyone had time to go in there and look at it too, and then also tonight we don't have everybody.
Okay.
So, we can definitely make it an agenda item for discussion and pull those points out. And then I would just say, obviously, if people have time to try to go in there and look at those specific content ones. And then, you know, if you see the update and, as far as a grammatical or maybe, like I said, something about inputting or the links, you could take your comment back out, you know what I mean? So people have less to filter through when they're looking, if you want to. If you don't, that's fine too.
I think just in general, there were some parts that maybe don't align exactly with what we do or our processes. So I tried to highlight some of them as I went through, but I can go through and put in like just a little asterisk, because I think, and it might even just be a discussion that you and I need to have, that I don't know that it's aligning quite with what our actual procedures are on the board. So I just wanna make sure that it's an accurate reflection, so there's not confusion when.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think some of this is gonna be new, and that's kind of the idea, so we want to make sure that we're, you know, we're highlighting people that have never been here before, if they do, about how it's going to work. It's just really important that, when we do this, that everybody's up to date and knows what the comments are and understands it, because it just makes for discussion a lot easier, so. So it'll be on there again next month. As far as I know, everyone will be in attendance at the next board meeting, so we can talk about that. But I can also go back through it again and maybe pull out some of those items that you're talking about, or let me know if there's something that you didn't clarify, just so that I can understand what you're looking for. Other questions on that? Okay, I'll take a motion to move into exec for a particular personnel matter, please.
Do we have, I'm sorry, committee updates? It's not on the agenda, but was there?
I didn't get any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I didn't, sorry. Mrs. Kaiser, can I have a second, please? Mrs. Foltz, thank you very much.
I just-
No, I should have said I didn't receive